This episode is brought to you by Tina's Vodka.
Hey, I'm Snez V from Osletics. You can find me at snezv.com and on Instagram, SNEZV. And this is her table.
Now you see her.
You are magnificent!
Welcome to Her Table, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the badass women who are redefining the game. Join hosts Kate Foley and Megan Martinez as they unlock the secrets of success from the brightest female pioneers in the industry.
Welcome back to another episode of Her Table. I'm so excited we're celebrating another amazing woman on this show. Today we have Snez V. She is the owner of Osletics, a CrossFit gym located right here in sunny California.
Snez also played professional soccer for 7 years and played for Canberra United, Adelaide United, and Melbourne Victory in the W League, which is so cool. She has been a professional in the fitness industry for over a decade with experience in aqua training, strength and conditioning, and CrossFit.
We can't wait to learn more about Snez's story and how she went from being a professional soccer player over in Australia to opening her own gym right here. Let's welcome Snez V to Her Table. We're so excited you're here today. Thanks for joining us.
I am so pumped to be here.
Are you?
Yes.
Are you going to make us work out?
I mean,
Just her. She signed up for it.
I don't know. I'm going to look
Megan.
at your shoes and I'll let you know.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I have seen some of your own shows, some of your own social media that you put out there, and it honestly is so powerful. Yeah. Have you always been that striking and that powerful, or is it something you had to learn how to do?
I think everyone has probably that inner sense, and I had it, but I never showed it. So once I understood it, once I, tapped into it, it's always been there, but I really had to learn how to dive deep to actually bring it out.
Yeah. Was there like a moment that made it? Was there like a pivotal moment for you that was like, okay, this is it, buckle up, Buttercup, or it just kind of like came with it? She loves us already. She does.
I definitely hit I don't give a fuck moment.
Yes. We just talked about this.
Yeah.
Was it an age thing or a moment in time thing?
I think it was a moment in time where I had lost everything, right? I hit rock bottom. And when someone has nothing to lose, they're probably the most powerful person out there.
That's when they're dangerous, right? Because there's really nothing you can take from them, but then they have you're literally at a place where you can kind of grow. Okay, can you share what happened that you lost everything? Are you comfortable to share that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a long story, but that moment in particular, I had just finished my professional career, right? And second ACL had actually done that to me, and I had moved everything. So I completely left my life, came over to the States. I had a relationship and a job. Both of them failed. So I knew no one. I had no people around me, no relationships. I had no money. And I basically left everyone behind. I was just completely isolated. And so I fell into a massive depression, anxiety, panic attacks were wild. And I just kind of thought this, there has to be more, right? You get to that moment, you're just sitting there, you're just I don't feel safe anymore. And so how do I create safety? I have to become safety. How do I create security? I have to become it. So whatever it is that I needed, I knew it needed to become it. That was that moment for me.
Wow. And so okay, so you had your second ACL from playing soccer, right? Walk us through kind of how you became an athlete and then continued on in sport. Because I think we see a lot now with athletes who don't know who they are beyond sport. And I think that's what you're speaking to. And it's so important because we lose track sometimes of who we are as a person and we become the athlete when in theory we're just a person who happens to be athletic or talented, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I started playing soccer when I was 6.
Wow.
And all I wanted to do was be like my brother. He's an amazing athlete. He traveled around Europe. He was very elite. And I just wanted to be anything like him. So I started playing. I didn't know if it was really right for me. So, you're 6 years old. You don't know.
You think you do. But
at
you
8, I'm this is it for me. I'm tapped in. So at 8, I was I'm going to play this sport forever. I'll play other sports, but I want to play this. And so I stayed playing it for as long as I could. And at 18, I turned pro. And so that's really young, now, right?
Very
It's young. At the
Yeah.
time, it was kind of a bit more normal because as you're around the sport and as you're around the representation of it, you think it's normal to go into it so young. So I played pro for 7 years and I was very fortunate. That was over in Australia. and I played for multiple different teams, and that's actually what brought me to the States. And I was very fortunate to be able to come over here, play for teams, play against teams, and just really expand myself. But I knew that when you're going to be an athlete, you really have to be in that mindset. It's a mindset. Like, that's it. And I think people forget that, like, they think that there's this massive divide. If you want to think of that as a divide, there's really just this space, and it's the mindset of someone that has drive, dedication, and like, they're not going to let anyone get in their way, So yeah, it was 20 years total I played, but 7 of those were pro.
And then how did you take that soccer experience? And then now in your career, you've started a whole entire gym, CrossFit, and you're coaching people, you're coaching coaches. Can you kind of tap into that?
Yeah, so after my second ACL, at this point, it was actually my 4th surgery overall. And, ACLs teach you a lot about yourself, right? You know it's going to be a long process. You're going to be a different person at the end of it. Everyone talks about this, but only when you actually go through it do you understand. But what's cool about being an athlete is that you have something to strive for. Maybe it's going back to the sport. Maybe it's just trying to get back on the field, whatever it is. But how that carries over into business is that you constantly get knocked down in business. Like, people are going to like try to ruin you. People are going to try and get in your way. What's the difference between that and being in your sport? People are trying to get in the way. People are trying to win, right? So business is, you're always playing this game that you're trying to win. It's just, there's never really a winner. You can just get as far ahead as you can. Yeah. And so once I stopped, I started going, well, I can apply this passion, this dedication that I have for this sport, and I can now apply it into helping change people's lives. So that's how I got into opening my own space, opening my own gym, and now going online. So now I help people around the world, and I love doing it because it gives me an opportunity to now take everything I've learned, because as an athlete, you have to be somewhat selfish, but now I can be selfless.
No, I love that. That's powerful.
Thank you.
That's so powerful. No, it's funny because until you get to a point in your life, you don't realize those things. Like, you have to have a failure, you have to have a success, you have to have heartache, you have to have like just real struggle, because that's what makes you relatable, right? Because I think there's so many people that, they haven't had those moments in life because they're young and they're big influencers, but they're not actually, don't have the life experiences to back sometimes what story they're trying to get you to attach to. And I think for you coming, all the way over here, losing everything, starting over, you're building something you're proud of, you're passionate about, but you also protect. How do you manage a work-life balance for you? Because I feel like you as a coach is a really invested person, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're really invested in making sure you see success in others. How do you make sure you have enough in your cup to be able to pour into others?
Well, I think you have to know yourself, right? And there's not a magical formula. So some people do well with mixing the two. Some people do well with actually separating the two. For me, like, when I help someone and I truly can kind of give to them, it fills my cup. So I see that as a benefit. Now, if I'm constantly giving, and I don't give back to myself, I'm not really going to serve anyone. So I need to know how to create space. For me, it's about creating space that feels safe, that can kind of like give me what I need. And I get a lot of energy off people just as much as I give it, right? So it's like energy exchange. But if I'm always exchanging too much of my own energy and not getting anything back, well, yeah, I'm going to get pretty depleted. But I think that's where people get it wrong. They think that they have to go hard Monday to Friday and then on the Saturday completely detach. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. You just got to know yourself and what really drains you. And then create space.
I heard a saying the other day that said, I'm not going to match your energy. I'm just going to protect mine. And it really spoke to me, because sometimes you feel like you got to tit for tat, this for that. And it's like, that's just not for me. I'm going to protect mine and not give it to you or lend it in a space that's not healthy or safe for me. How have you seen for you as you've gone on this journey from athlete to now professional, executive, leadership, owning your own business? How have you seen the industry embrace you, or have you had a challenge that you've been up against to be accepted?
Well, I think as females, it's really nice to see females in leadership roles. And I think that when females speak up in particular, and just people in general, when they feel like, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to see if people like it. Like they may hate it, and I have had it. Like everyone's gets some hate. If you don't, like you're probably not doing it right.
Yet. Yeah. That's what they say. If you don't have a hater, you haven't made it yet. Okay.
Exactly. And so I think for me, like putting myself out there, I got people that are like, oh my gosh, finally someone that just says it how it is. Someone that just shows up. And like one of the best pieces of, I guess, feedback I ever got was someone said to me, you are probably the most consistent and reliable person I've ever met. Ooh. And I'm like, okay, that's probably one of the best compliments I can get, right? Because that's not speaking about me on a physical level. That's talking about my character. My character is my destiny, right? And so if I can carry that and I can embrace and change people through my character, they'll see it. They'll see it in how I speak. They'll see it in how I present. They'll see it in how I show up every day. That's probably what I think I can add value to this world in.
Yeah. Well, and it's authentic. Like we say on the show too, sometimes it's so intimidating to be authentically yourself. And when you're fine with it, you get, she's looking at me in my all pink crystal suit, laughing at me. I just
Barbie.
for anyone not watching, you can just envision this. It's fine.
I'm blinded.
It's fine. Listen, we all need a little sparkle in our life. Okay. Shout out Good American. We need some sparkle. Anyways, like I was saying, authentically being yourself, but also being okay with it, because I think, you know, we all work predominantly in male dominated industries, and sometimes it's hard to break that ceiling and to get that credibility. Have you had to have that at all?
I think all the time, right? Especially in fitness and health. But I don't see it as a competition for me. Like I'm not trying to compete. I'm just trying to change. I'm trying to create change.
Grow.
And if someone else can do it too, awesome. Let's do it together, better yet. Like let's not compete with each other. Let's actually work together to make a bigger impact. But yeah, of course I'm going to always come across people that don't share the same kind of perspective. That's what makes it difficult.
Right. Yeah. And do you work with a lot of men? Like, do you coach a lot of men? And if you do, have you found it difficult for them? Like, do they have to like trust you or like rely on you? Like, have you ever had that difficulty you have to overcome, like having to prove yourself? Like, or you just kind of like, I am who I am. If you want to learn from me, learn from me. If not, then oh well.
I have such a great answer for this. I think there's two types of men out there. There's the man, right? And the baby boy. The baby boy.
Oh, I'm stealing this from her because I feel whatever she's about to say.
I can't wait to hear.
I already feel.
I think the baby boy gets a little, butthurt, right? By a woman that has a little bit more of a leadership or a woman that's willing to speak up. And the man knows how to respect a woman, right? He just shows respect. And so when I speak to men and they go, this girl knows what she's talking about, I'm not going to try and overstep her. She clearly knows what she's going to talk about. I'm going to listen. I'm going to shut up and listen. Just like I would go to them and be like, hey, what's your expertise? What do you know about? Teach me something, right? I would listen to a man that said that, but I'm not going to listen to someone that carries ego and arrogance. And so to me, baby boys carry that.
Baby boys.
I've worked with a few.
So stealing that because I have some that I know and I now know how to classify them.
Yeah.
Really it's interesting because I do feel like oftentimes it's but even for women too in this space, right? It's everybody's different, and like we're especially at her table, we're like everybody come as you are, and we want to share your story and how to empower the next you. Right? Because ultimately that's what we're leaving in this world. Not what we do, but what comes behind us, right? So it's for the one before me, the one beside me, the one behind me, of how we're able to empower women and just celebrate women. Because I think we're trained, we talked about this earlier, sometimes younger girls are trained to minimize themselves, to be less of themselves because they're afraid of judgment and they're not seeing anyone that's doing it. And so when you look at women, it's like, speak up, share your story, be proud of yourself. A man would do the same thing and feel zero regret about it. And then we're over here like, oh, well, no, like we're badass people too.
Yeah.
But we're afraid to share it. And I think for a lot of these younger women and younger girls, especially on social media, to be able to relate and find connectivity in someone that gives them the authentic self is so important. How do you deal with the haters on social media? I don't deal well with them. I'm just going to say it out loud. Like, I can't watch the show sometimes because I'm so scared of what I'm going to say or do.
Really?
I can't. I don't have the mental strength to do it. I'm trying, but I don't.
So this is one thing I'm probably getting known for is I have a little baby violin on my desk. And so every time someone says something stupid, I will literally send them a violin because that's what they sound like. Little baby violin. You know, the little...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, you're just like, oh, you're just butthurt because I'm tapping a little chord here near you.
Or you're triggered. Like, what I'm saying is resonating with you. I think the thing for me that's so hard about social media too is like sometimes people just feel the need to be unkind. And there's no reason for it. And you have people come to you that want to improve their life, change their life, not only, you know, physically, but mentally. How do you assess that? Like, how do you go about it? Like, someone comes in the gym, how do you know if it's a good fit for you? Because some people might not be a good fit. Do you have to go down like kind of a checklist, or is it trial and error, or you know right off the bat?
I mean, I'm really big at reading people.
Okay.
I think that understanding what someone wants is very important. But here's the thing. There's two mindsets. One's fixed, one's growth. If someone comes in going, I know what I need, I know what works, I know what doesn't work, I'm like, why are you here then?
Yeah. What are you
Right?
not doing?
If someone comes in going, something's not working for me, I really need change. I really want to understand. I really want to learn. I want to grow. All right, you're in the right place. I'm going to help you because I'm growth mindset. I can provide you with what you need. I can give you value. I can do that. You just have to be open-minded, right? You have to trust the process. You have to know that this is not going to be just a linear path. If you're open to all of that, you're not going to have any issues. You just have to be willing.
Yeah.
And if someone's willing, there's no reason why they can't change.
No.
And they have to be willing to change them for everything to change for them.
Yeah. We spoke about this earlier. You have been in the fitness industry for over 20 years. And you were telling me that most people leave after 12 months. What keeps you going, and how are you still in this business?
Well, hold on. Before you say, why do people leave?
They get burnt out. You know,
What,
like
the trainers and fitness people leave because it's just too much repetitiveness. Like, what is that?
I think it's a burnout concept, right?
Okay.
Like they give, and they think more is better. So they try and pack in as many people as possible,
I can
whether
see
it's
that.
whether it's in person. And I'm sure that if there's anyone out there that's even tried personal training, they pack in as much as they can, and then they're just like, they don't even get time to work out themselves. And then they're depleted. And so that'll happen. If they're online, they get burnt out from trying so hard and not getting anything in return. It's the process. It's part of the process. What keeps me going is that in order for you to be successful, you have to show up and do the boring work every damn day. And if you're not okay with that, you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
It's in the boring work, right? Like anyone can watch this show and be like, whoa, this is cool. But what about the boring work that had to take to put all this together?
Yeah.
The boring work.
Yeah, the Friday calls where we're like, okay, let's keep going. But it's interesting because I think that's for anybody's job, right? Like it is not always the top of the mountain. The bulk of your career, the bulk of your job will be in the middle plateau of life. And you'll have highs and you'll have lows, but the consistent is the middle.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why, like, who you do it with, where you spend your time, and then what you actually are. Like, I think so many, and we talked about this with our last guest, like sometimes your path leads you to your purpose. And had you not had that path, you probably wouldn't have found your purpose. And it's so easy to be like, why is this happening for me? Why isn't it fast enough? Why am I not getting more? Why is my business not growing fast enough? Sometimes you just got to step back and let God because he's got it. But sometimes you got to help him too. And you have to step up to the plate and be willing to change, grow, and continue to experience things he's giving you.
Definitely. Yeah.
What's one of the things that you would advise somebody that wants to start in the sports industry?
They have to be athletic themselves.
So
right?
I'm out. So there's that.
I think also, like, well, you just got to understand that, like, there's a lot of like discipline that needs to happen. And that's why I like fitness, because fitness really shows you that you have to create discipline. And that's like doing things when you don't want to do them. So when you can create that carries over into your business, that carries over into anything, and also helps you understand people. Because one of the things that people will say is like, I don't want to do it. I wake up some mornings and I don't want to do it. How can you connect with that person if you're like, well, I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
Right? You got to know what that's like. So I think in any type of sport, any type of fitness, any type of health, you have to know what it's like. So you have to experience it.
Yeah.
So that's where you start. You start by experiencing it and know, hey, do you actually have like a true, authentic love for this? And can you then carry that over, pay it forward? Go do that.
Yeah.
What's one of the most rewarding aspects of your job? Is it for you? I mean, I can only imagine sometimes it's probably a physical change in someone, but a lot of times physical change comes with emotional change and growth. What's one of the most rewarding aspects of being a fitness trainer?
I think the biggest thing is seeing and hearing someone say, I feel confident for the first time since I was young, right? Or something like, I looked at myself and actually liked what I saw. Like I loved it. Like I actually feel really good about myself. They'll take selfies where beforehand the camera would always be faced the other way, right? Like that's what it was about. Like even today, like I spoke to one of my clients, she's like cries all the time and she's on the phone to me. She's like, I'm telling you, like I'm a different mother. I'm a different wife. I'm a different human. Like I'm different. And today I can safely say that after working with you, you have changed my life.
Wow.
And so for me, I'm like, damn, tell your kids, like that's
They're
amazing.
welcome.
Yeah.
They're welcome. Tell your husband they're welcome. He's welcome. But you know, like, so that's so rewarding because I'm not just changing like a person, but I'm changing like how they are with others.
Well, it's what you're impacting someone beyond the one person, right? So when you get it really right, you're actually impacting down and down and down. And then hopefully the people underneath see like they're making these changes. I want to too, right? So it's creating that like positive space for growth beyond your direct impact. It's that indirect, which is so cool that she shares it with you, because I think sometimes we forget we always say lean in or lean forward. Sometimes we need to lean back and thank the people, right, that have leaned in on us, right? And I think it's so hard in an industry, fitness is, sports is just, it's a thankless job sometimes.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand what you have to sacrifice in order to give to them. And so sometimes I love that she did that, of like leaning back and saying thank you, right? Like you're changing, because now you're like, okay, this is why I do what I do, right? Not because it's cool and because all this, it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
That's a hard question because I think I've been doing this for so long, I can't envision myself doing anything else.
Okay.
I would be still serving in some regard.
Yeah.
I would not be able to be, you know, behind a desk. I wouldn't be able to be in a closed room. I'd be out there serving in some way. I don't even care. I really just want to make sure I'm always serving.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's so important, because Megan and I talk all the time about how, like, especially for this show, everyone's always like, why did you guys do the show? And it's like, because I want to celebrate other people. It's not what she does or I do. It's like, what are other people doing? Because so many people see Megan, I want to be her. Well, who is that? What does she love? What is she about? How did she become this? Because there's not, it's not just one version. There's, it's like the phoenix, right? There's versions of yourself that you continue to evolve and develop.
Yeah.
What for you, as at the company that you're at now, what is the culture like, and what is imperative for you to have in that gym, that like sanctum?
Integrity is huge. So, and that's, I've carried that over throughout my whole life. Even I can't sit well in a space or around people that I feel like the integrity is not there. Yeah. So I created it, and it's one of my core values. It's one of the values I say, if you don't have this, then we're not a good fit straight off the bat. All right. So what are you doing when no one's around?
Yeah.
Who are you doing it for?
Yeah.
You know, what does that look like? That's what I want people to know. And same even goes for my clients. I'm like, hey, have integrity, be honest.
Yeah.
What would be the point of not being honest, of not having integrity? I'm going to see it.
Yeah. I already know. So like you might as well just fess up, because what we're doing should be working and it's not. So when you leave here, what are you doing that's not allowing it to work?
Yeah. And I think integrity is a huge one, and intention, right? If you can have an intention, both from like our side being a coach into like them actually pouring into us, like there needs to be an intention.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just kind of like going through the motions.
How have you seen the fitness industry grow from when you first started out into where it is today? And like, where do you kind of see it going? Just because like the cool thing about the last few years is that it has gone digital and people are able to be coached remotely.
Yeah, it's like more accessible.
Exactly. Like you were coaching people who are in Europe, and like, that's so cool. So where have you kind of seen it, like the growth and where it is today?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's expanded so much online. There's good and bad to that, because everyone's now apparently an influencer, and especially in the world of fitness, they get fit in 3 months and all of a sudden they have all the answers, right? So there's that which is, like I said, it's good because they're motivating people to start, but sometimes it's not the right way. Now, it has really transformed, right? So people are definitely expanding what they do and understanding that like they work with a specific person, which I think has been great. Like people are understanding that you can't just work with everybody. That is where it has shifted, because it used to be like just get fit.
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, hold on a second. There's these different sports and there's these different ways of getting fit, and there's this method and this method. And so there's much more variety out there, way more like methods, to how you want to do your training, how you want to do your nutrition, all of this stuff. So it has definitely expanded. And I can see it continuing to expand. I don't know how much further it can expand because at the end of the day, there's only so many new fads that you can bring out.
Right.
There's only so many new different like methods of training that you can bring out. But ultimately, it always comes back to the basics. And the basics always win. It doesn't matter. So I think it's really good because more and more people are coming into the space and trying to grow the space and trying to grow themselves. But ultimately, it's always going to be the OGs that are doing the basics that are always going to win.
Yeah.
So it seems like you have like a holistic approach to training, right? It's not just check a box. Can you walk us through a little bit of like, you get a new client, what does that holistic assessment's a good word, look like for them? Because there's someone comes in and says, hey, I want to work out. What does that then turn to you to become?
Yeah, so I like to see what they've done in the past. I need to see where their level is at. Right. So a lot of the time people have typically started somewhere with someone else or doing something else. And so when they come to me, they've typically stalled, they're plateaued a little bit. And so change is required. So I'll say to them, okay, like, let's see where your strength is at and your conditioning, right? So strength and conditioning. Everyone sees that and they attach that to an athlete, but really it's a way of training. It's a way of actually doing the method that can actually help you with your own fitness level. So I'll kind of look at that and I'll look at, well, if they want to get stronger, what do they want to get stronger in? Is it one specific thing? Because sometimes we got to like really understand it. You can't just say, I want to get stronger, because that could mean anything. So once we want to do that, it might be a conditioning piece where they have a goal in mind. They want to run a 10K. They want to run a marathon, whatever. So once I know truly what they want, then I can build out the right system for them. And a lot of it is through functional training. I love functional training. I think it's the best method that's out there. I think it's going to always overpower bodybuilding. It's always going to overpower powerlifting. It's just going to overpower it all because we can apply it to every single aspect of our life. So I like putting people through functional training. And then when they come in and I look at their nutrition, what do they eat like? Have they tried something before? Most of the time people aren't eating right. They think they are, like, I eat well, and like then they lay it out and I'm like, you eat like shit. I don't know what you were thinking, but and it like you look how you live, so it obviously shows up as that, right? So I'll usually kind of like assess their nutrition and see what's missing. And then a lot of the time I like to see what people are at with their body composition. So I'll ask them like, hey, where's your body fat at? How much muscle do you have on your body? How much water are you carrying? And let's start there.
Yeah.
And see how it's like a lot more like, okay, it's a bit more intrinsic. It's a bit more detailed. I don't like scales because I think people can easily get so caught up in their mind on the scale. And then they attach their own value to that scale, which is so external and so stupid at the same time. So we'll do that. And then I give them breath work. And the breath work is,
what is that?
Absolutely amazing.
For those of us that don't know.
That's going to help you with your stress.
Really?
So massive.
Okay, come on. We need a quick little class. What is this? I need to understand.
So everybody lives in fight or flight, right?
Yes.
And their survival mode. So that's your sympathetic nervous system. When you tap into parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, that's where you can downregulate, decompress, chill out. That's the breath work. That's anything you can go from like box breathing. You could do so many different types of breath work that's out there. I like box breathing. And it's just like inhaling, holding, exhaling, holding.
Okay, so like meditation.
It's like a
type
meditation,
almost.
but you're focused solely on your breath. And when you do this, what happens is you actually transfer energy.
Okay.
And you actually transfer energy to be released. And that's what actually makes you feel good. Because people hold tension and they're like, I just feel really tense. You're like, did you know you could breathe that out? You have the capacity, but you don't give yourself 3 to 5 minutes a day to do this. That's what gets people out of that stress state. So cortisol levels are going to drop. They're not going to feel like they have to reach for the closest candy to fix their cortisol levels, right? Because that's what everyone stress eats because of that. So I give a lot of people the breath work, and I think everyone should always be asking themselves anywhere between 1 and 3 thought-provoking questions a day so that they can learn about themselves, right? What is it about me that I can change? Like, who is my highest self, right? You tap into a better version of you, and you'll probably start to become that. But if you keep thinking about who you were yesterday and last year and last month, you're never going to move forward. You're just going to basically walk on a treadmill.
Yeah, you're just hamster wheeling, doing the same thing. I think one of the things that's so interesting is, I mean, I have young kids, but they only go to PE like once or twice a week, right? They aren't taught nutrition anymore in school.
Yeah.
And PE becomes optional as they get older. And so I don't feel like we're giving them the tools to even understand their bodies as their bodies are changing. And then you wonder why when you're older, your life's in a complete dumpster fire because you don't have the tools. Do you feel like that's a hindrance towards people as they grow up now? Would that change? Because obviously you were an athlete, so you probably didn't have that to that extreme. But nowadays, like, kids aren't taking PE. They aren't having nutrition class. They don't understand mental health. What do you want to see change, hopefully, for this younger generation that continues to have anxiety younger and younger and stress younger and younger as we see the world continue?
Okay, so there's two parts to this. Number one, all my clients, I say, hey, the breath work, can you do it with your kid?
Ooh,
I say, can you breathe?
that.
Like, and I'm like, you just got to teach your kids to breathe. They don't even realize that it's literally the essence of life.
Yeah.
And it's like that, and it's crazy
You
to
do
think
this
that
every day,
Yeah,
but it's
like,
important.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that, and then understanding like the thoughts. It's the thoughts,
Yeah.
right? When you can get kids to understand their thought patterns, why they think the way that they think, and where it's coming from, they'll understand. And the other part is I'm trying to create change. I started a kids class at my gym. It's absolutely amazing. I have a kids coach. It's literally her passion for her life. And so we have like up
So
to
amazing.
25 kids in a class, and she teaches them meditation. She teaches them nutrition. She teaches them how to get confident and to get strong, new skills, coordination. And she's like, all right, you're going to take this out and you're going to go and tell your parents about it, and you're going to go and apply this just to your life. These kids aren't even playing sport.
Yeah.
They just want to like be part of something.
Yeah.
Kids just need to be part of something.
Yeah.
That's like they
No,
all,
it's
this is why they
so
start to
true.
kind of come together.
Yeah.
Because like, let's do something together. That's the first thing they say.
Well, and they're growing, and it's funny, like even like young, like I say, like the tween years, right? Like their bodies are growing, they're changing, they're goofy, they're awkward, they don't know what to do with it, and then they don't get PE. So it's like, hey, here's a body I don't know anything to do with, and then I'm going to do nothing with it, and then I'm insecure about it. Like we're not setting them up for success. And the positive talk and self-talk is so important. And I say this even to like my athletes every day, is like, you have to, don't say something to yourself you wouldn't say to someone else. Like if you would not say that to someone else because it would be unkind, why is it okay for you to say that to yourself?
That's so
And
true.
then when you think about it, you're like, holy shit, you're right. But it's like, until you actually sit and say to yourself, why am I being so down on myself? If someone said that, I wouldn't say that to someone else. It would make me uncomfortable. You should be uncomfortable saying that to yourself. Because even just to the highest levels of athletes, right, that I deal with, at the highest level, they struggle with self-talk because they still doubt. They still are not confident. Now, there's some that are like the opposite, and you're like, bro, relax, relax. But the majority of them all, because we're all human at the end of the day. Some of us just happen to be more athletic or more talented than the other. And I love that you talked about breath work, because I think that's something that is so easy for anyone at any fitness level to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it can be done anywhere, anytime, any situation. You don't need anything to do it.
Yes.
So you can actually have healthier habits by just doing something you do every, I don't even know the number, so don't come for me, but probably like 45 seconds you breathe. I don't know, maybe you know the answer, but like you're doing it constantly. You'll die if you don't. But be intentional about it.
It is probably one of the most transformative concepts out there that is not spoken about.
Yeah, I honestly never hear about it. And I'm in fitness all the time. I'm just playing sports, and you just don't even think about how big that is and how big of an effect that has on your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about like when you are working with different men and different women, are you targeting, and like when you're coming up with plans for coaching, are you doing different exercises for each person? Or are you kind of like saying, categorizing all women the same way, all men the same way? Or how exactly do you go about that?
Yeah. So I think everyone is different, so they should be treated differently.
Right.
Right. Like some could come from similar backgrounds, but everyone's different, right? They've had a different upbringing. They've had a different way of eating maybe.
Yeah.
And it might be they've had a different way of training up until the point that they came to me. Even the ones that are somewhat similar, they still have differences. So I think everyone should be very much treated for what they need and how they are. So I like to be a bit more on the individualized approach.
Yeah, which is great.
Well, I think it's so important because what someone comes in needing might not be what they need 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and they can go backwards or they can go forwards.
Yeah.
What do you think is the number one reason people don't get into fitness more?
I think they know that it requires work. There's a lot of lazy people out there. Like, There's
I'm raising my hand as we sit
there's
here.
a difference
and just,
between
Yeah.
lazy and busy, I guess.
Yeah.
Or excuses. I don't know.
Whatever. God, I'm gonna go back now. I'm gonna go to the gym tonight and be like dying and be like, I'm only doing this, so I'm not guilty.
I'm all for it.
I really think that people know that it requires work.
Yeah.
What would you choose, the couch
Yeah.
or something else?
Yeah.
And that's why they created the couch to 5K.
Yeah.
Right, or whatever it's called, like that. They created that because they need to get the person off it.
Yeah.
They need to get the person that's too busy, to actually just be able to do 20, 30 minutes if that's all they got. Like,
Yeah.
everybody gets the same amount of time every single day. Why is it though that the people that are the most successful make the time? Because they want longevity. They want sustainability. They want to actually have something for themselves. It's also, everyone's talking about it being a form of self-care. It is.
It is,
Because you make yourself better. So I think ultimately the people that aren't going into it are the ones that, one, they don't believe in themselves. They think if they start it, they're probably not going to continue. And then people are going to be like, oh, what happened to that thing that you started that you didn't continue doing? Like, oh,
yes,
shit.
yes.
Yeah.
So then they're going to, people are going to give them a hard time.
Yeah.
And they know, I don't believe in myself. I don't have the self-worth. I don't even know how to do it.
Yeah.
I can't afford it.
Yeah.
So they'll then do that. They'll talk themselves out of it.
Right.
And they'll go, well, I'm better off just sitting here.
Yeah.
That's
But I
what-
think it's like productive environment too, right? So if you don't come from a household that practices physical and mental health, you're not likely to carry that on into your household. And so it's funny, like even with my kids, it's trying to find the balance. Like they actually go to training. It's funny. They probably don't like training every week, but they just go to it where they're learning agility, coordination, things that are just helping them in life, but giving them also that self-confidence because they need that and it's good for them, but also it's something I can't do for them. I can't do that for them. And so I love that other people are able to pour into kids and youth outside of their household because it might be something that in fact changes their household,
Yeah.
which is uncommon, but it's not unheard of. And so when you look at like underserved communities, especially, it's so important to give them the tools to do it, but then also the access to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like in schools, it's so interesting to me how much it's fallen off, right? Like we can take AP calculus, but health and wellness is looked at as like an option where it should be something that is a requirement because if you're really giving them tools beyond school, you're giving them life tools. I think everyone's just afraid to like, what are life tools? Who gets to define them? Is that good for my kid or not my kid? When ultimately overall physical and mental health is so important. I saw the other day a celebrity said, I train, actually it was Kerry Washington said, she said, I have a trainer for my body. Why wouldn't I have a trainer for my mind?
Yep.
She's like, I have been in and out of therapy and people say, well, why do you start and stop? And she goes, well, because sometimes I have a lot of time, sometimes I don't, but what I need constantly is changing and evolving, but I've never stopped. I've just evolved how I've done it. And so I feel like that's so true for physical training too, because you might not be able to go to the gym every day, but there's something you can do.
Yep.
It's just finding the time to do it and also the commitment to do it. What do you think about these apps? I see you're wearing, is it a Fitbit?
No. Yeah. It's a whoop.
A Whoop. Okay. What do you feel about that? Because I have seen like my best friends wear Apple Watches and they all like just talk shit about who's walking the most. And it's because they can see each other's
they can
steps.
link, yeah.
But then I'm like, there's no way you walked that far. Like, what'd you do? Put it on your dog and run it around the backyard? Like, what happened?
can't
Then it just
shake it.
becomes this like,
Can't shake
yeah,
it.
you can. Listen, then it becomes this like, are you sure? Because like, there's no way. Or you're like trying to beat it. But on the other hand, I love it seeing a community where people get to kind of like
Yeah.
push and challenge each other remotely. What do you think about the fad of kind of like the way the world is so ingrained in analytics, we can call it fitness analytics, and how we're sharing that information?
I think ultimately your body is going to be the best that you should listen to. And I think it doesn't help that people promote it, right? People, you get the right person to wear it, and they can be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to become that.
Yeah.
If I wear that and I listen to it, I'm going to become that person. I think that that's definitely what's happening, and it's a shame, right? But here's the thing. It's a business.
Yeah. Everything is.
It's a business. Fitbit is a business. Whoop is a business. And so I like using it as a tool. It's a tool though. I'll take it off and I'll go to sleep and I will not care, right? But I don't have an attachment. People become attached to it. It's just like anything. You create any sense of attachment to anything that you do, you're going to probably have a hard time. You're going to struggle. And then you're going to create the killer of comparison because your friend out there is doing 10,000 steps. You're doing only 2.
Yeah.
That's going to kill you.
Yeah.
That's so
I
fascinating.
definitely have a watch. I don't actually check it as often as like I would want to, but it is nice just for accountability. But last question before we head out, I wanted to ask you, like, how did you take that leap from being a professional athlete, but then wanting to start your own gym and be an entrepreneur in your own self? Because that is scary. Like, I can't imagine taking that leap. So what kind of like gave you that motivation?
So I kept on outgrowing everywhere I went, right? And I ended up knowing more than the people I worked with and for, right? That's a massive, massive kind of like lesson, right? And it's a huge sign. And if you don't listen to it, it's going to keep like slapping you over the face.
Yeah.
So you'll just bounce from business to business because you're always going to outgrow it. At some point, I just got to this point going, I think I got to stop having a boss and start being a boss, right?
Put
Now
that on a shirt.
I like
people.
that. Yeah. I like that.
And so I think once I started listening to that, going, I go to these places, I end up knowing more than them,
Yeah.
like, and I enjoy them, but then they get envious of how much I know, so the relationship changes.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, come on, like I want to be good, but you need to step up.
yeah.
Like,
You're afraid for me to outgrow you.
yeah, and so then they get all butthurt because you're doing better than they
Yeah.
in their own business. So I started listening to that way more, and everywhere I went. And by the time I hit like the 3rd or 4th place, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And that is, I think it was less scary to do that than it was to just keep bouncing from place to
bouncing.
base. I didn't want to be that person either.
Yeah.
There's that saying, there's one in my office that actually says, stop shrinking yourself to fit in places you've already outgrown.
Exactly.
And like when you can look at it through that lens, like I joke, but it's like God keeps giving you these same scenarios. He's asking yourself, are you still stupid?
Yeah.
Like, yep, you're not getting it. Well, just keep playing this game until you get it. And then once you get it, you're like, huh. But then once you realize that in yourself, that you want more or you can be more, you see it more clearly in other people. When you can allow yourself to be more, you can see it in other people because you're not afraid of what they bring. You're like, I don't want to see you do what I did.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you keep doing that. I want to help you not make those challenges or mistakes. So it's definitely, it's so impactful and important for young women to hear, but also just young people to hear. Keep growing, keep being curious, right? And keep pushing yourself to evolve and grow. Like I call it these people that just same job 30 years, never change. I can't do that. I wasn't given that like gene. So it's like when you have to grow and change, it's scary, but do it. It's being put in front of you to do because somebody behind you is watching you do it and waiting for you to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what you've done. I mean, you went from soccer star to now you're changing people's lives.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It is cool.
You have to wake up every morning and be like, I'm a badass. Let's get this day going.
Yeah.
Like, can you just start sending me a video every morning and be like, you're a badass, get to it,
Yeah.
and make sure you do your breath work.
I will. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll definitely
Okay.
send it.
'Cause I'm
I think
gonna need that.
one of the biggest things I always say to people is like, if you don't have anything to get up for, you're going to have a hard time. Right?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you do have something, all you're going to have to say to yourself is like, let me just put my feet to the floor and I'm going to start winning.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just show up. Just keep showing up. Laurent Ferdinand said that one of our very first shows was just keep showing up.
Yeah.
It might not change. It might not get better. Just keep showing.
And it's not easy.
No,
right?
it's so hard. It's so hard.
And I think that's where it's on the days though when you're truly tested that it matters the most. That's like your performance days.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but you've been in practice the whole time. So when the pressure hits, you got to start performing.
Yeah. Amazing. You're so amazing and inspiring. I
Inspiring,
love it.
for sure.
I love it.
Thank you.
She made me feel better about myself.
I know. I'm like
I'm
taking
just
pieces of
listening.
stuff. I'm
I
like,
didn't
let
even
me
have to
learn.
work out. It's just like energy. I love it.
Good. I'm glad.
Well, thanks so much for coming
Yeah,
on.
thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, so fun.
So Snez is such an inspiration. Oh my gosh.
I know, right? I was like super intimidated at first because I was like, are we going to have to work out in this episode?
Yeah.
But I think I like calmed her down. I think I made everything kind of relaxed. You guys get excited. And I was like, no. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, she honestly, it was so cool to hear her talk about how she has taken, I love hearing athlete perspective, right? She's taken what she learned as an athlete, right? She had so many surgeries, she said.
Yeah.
So then she was able to take her love for sport and turn it into being able to share that love with other people that might not be athletic, but are just trying to have a healthier lifestyle.
Right.
And so that's so cool to see an athlete find something beyond their sport. And it's something that just resonates so deeply with me.
Yeah, and I think it's cool too because being an athlete, you have to be selfish at times. And the fact that she said that she could be selfish when she was an athlete playing professional soccer. Now she can be selfless and help other people feel better about themselves, become more confident, be a better mom, be a better dad, help their family. And it's not just about one person. She's impacting a whole family. And I think that's such a special, quality to have. And she was such an inspiration. I truly mean that. And even how she spoke about the differences between working with men and women and how she individualizes everything that she teaches them. I think that's so crucial in health and fitness these days. And I just think she would be such an amazing coach. And I loved having her on the show.
Yeah, I think she could probably put us through a really hard workout.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it'd have to be like a 360. What are we eating? What are we doing? Are we sleeping well? For me, I listen to her and I just get so inspired.
Yeah.
But then the simplest thing, one of the things that stuck out to me is she was like breath work. She makes all of her clients work on breath work, and that helps reduce stress. It helps reduce anxiety. But like at the same time, like we're really giving people tools. Everyone breathes. Everyone on this earth breathes. But she's like, no, I get to teach my clients how to do breath work to reduce stress, anxiety, center themselves, almost like meditation.
Yeah.
But then it's good for kids. It's good for older people. So she has that holistic approach that I think is so cool, because a lot of fitness trainers are just like, oh, work out. And she's like, no. I need to evaluate you as a whole so that I can get the best out of you, because that's really what she wants. She wants to help you be the best version of yourself.
Sure.
The other crazy thing is listening to her talk about how, as a woman, as a fitness trainer, she trains men and women. And some men look at her like, how do you know what you're doing? And some don't. And I loved her little analogy of like men and baby boys. So I'm taking that with me because I know a couple baby boys.
Me too.
Yeah, I think we all do. But I loved her analogy and how to place them, because that will then why am I thinking of the word infiltrate? It's not infiltrate. It will influence. It will influence you of how you react, respond, and interact with people when you can understand what level they're on. And it gives you the opportunity to put energy and time into that person, or to know if they're just not on a place their journey that they're going to benefit from you. So her energy exchange, I mean, I feel like we made a new friend, but also like she's I love that she is from Australia, here in the States, living her best life.
Yeah.
And seeing another woman thrive in an industry that is so male dominated as well.
Love that.
So cool.
She's such an inspiration. We touched on that, but like the fact that she can take a leap and leave her career that she was doing and start her own gym and be an entrepreneur is such a inspiring thing for young women, young people to see. So I think hearing her whole story, her whole journey, turning from athlete to coach now, was so great. And I loved having her in the studio. So thank you all so much for joining her table. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know who you'd like to have on the show next. But that's it for us this time. Make sure to tune in next week. Maybe say the last part again.
I was going to say the last part again.
So that's it for us today. Make sure to tune in to her table next time.